Well, hey, folks. Welcome to Late Night with Lovecraft Easing. Still haven't settled on an official name. Maybe it has several names. Late Night with Mike and Monty and Jupiter and Oreo in spirit. What's the matter, Oreo? Or, sorry. What's the matter, Jupiter? You're okay, buddy. There are possums out there that would love to eat you for breakfast. He goes out during the day now, but not at night. So, all right. Count Karstein summoned me. Is that, are you a new viewer or just someone we know with a new handle? And who else has said something? Darren and Alan. Hey guys, good to see you. Can everyone see me? Let me know. I think you can see me and hear me. So because YouTube has given me some weird information. So just checking. Here we have a new addition out here. Bigfoot has joined us. Little Bigfoot. That's about as good as it gets, I think. Let's see. There we go. Danielle gave me this the other day. Bigfoot is real. It's true, they say. He's come out of hiding to send hugs and kisses your way. Keep him close in whatever you do. True love does exist, and Bigfoot does too. Yep, we went out of town for our 30th anniversary a few days ago, so she gave me that. That's really nice. Okay, so you're not new if you've been here for over a decade or so. So, anyway, welcome or welcome back, as the case may be. Good to see everyone, so to speak. What do I have on the table to talk about? Might be good if I could keep my notes handy, but that might be, oh, there it is. Okay. Well, the first thing I should say is remind everyone of the mailing list that I have. I use MailChimp, and it's you're the only emails you're going to get from me through this service is to let you know if there's going to be a podcast. Just they're basically reminder emails, and you'll get them on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and that's it. And you can unsubscribe anytime. The um, link to sign up is in the show notes, so sign up for that, and it'll keep you in the loop. I do also put this stuff on social media, on Blue Sky and in the Lovecraft Easing Facebook group, but it's always easy to miss social media posts. So, um, so yeah, check that out. Kim says, kind of glad you can't hear me through the screen. I've been fighting this stupid cough for the last couple of weeks. Also, I don't want to catch it, Kim, right? And would you believe it? I have never read Neuromancer. Count. I've tried a couple of times over the decades, but I've just not been able to get into it. You know, I don't know why. But tell you what I am reading. I am reading, pull this up. Oh, there we go. Right now, I am reading a couple of different books at once, as per usual. I just started, I got this on a with a credit on Audible, a Star Trek book called More Beautiful Than Death, which has nothing but great reviews. And yeah, I'm a Star Trek nerd. Probably not as much as some, but I am. And this is the original crew, Captain Kirk and crew, on the Enterprise. Hi, Jupiter. But it's the Kelvin timeline, which interests interests me. So anyway, reading that. Chaz, hey, good to see you. And what else here? I've got the wrong. I've got the wrong. I'm looking on my phone when I should be looking on my Kindle. Yeah, there we go. There is a. Alan told me that there is a Watchman, annotated Watchman, and that it was real cheap on Kindle. So I got that, and that, man, that is so interesting. It really is. So yeah, check that out if you're a Watchmen fan. And yeah, what else am I reading? Let's see here. Books. Oh, that's right. I'm in the middle of Old Soul, Dark Matter, um, and as I said, More Beautiful Than Death in the fiction department. In nonfiction, I am reading a book called Radical Acceptance, and I'm rereading A Brief History of Time. So it's been a while since I read that one. And as you guys might remember, I'm an astronomy nerd. So so yeah, that's what I've been reading. Now, let me get into the first two books I mentioned for a second because I think you guys will be interested. Um, find the synopsis here. All right, the book is titled Old Soul by Susan Barker. John Connolly. That doesn't even ring a bell. What's that about, Chaz? You know I'm a John Connolly fan. All right, the historian meets under the skin in this searingly provocative literary horror about one woman's determination to stay alive at any terrifying cost. And if I mentioned this on another episode, I'm sorry. In Osaka, two strangers, Jake and Mariko, miss a flight and over dinner discover they've both brutally lost loved ones whose paths crossed with the same beguiling woman no one has seen since. Jupiter. Hi. Hey, buddy. Jupiter's mad because I won't let him out. Following traces this mysterious person left behind, Jake travels from country to country, gathering chilling testimonials from others who encountered her across the decades. A trail of shattered souls that eventually leads him to Theo, a dying sculptor in rural New Mexico who knows the woman better than anyone and might just hold the key to who or what she is. Part horror, part western, part thriller, Old Soul is a fearlessly bold and genre defying tale about predation, morality, and free will. Guys, no Oxford comma there? And one man's quest to bring a centuries long chain of human devastation to an end. It begins in Japan, Count, but it takes place all over the world. Bear in mind, I'm only a few chapters in, but I'm loving it. Let me find it here because on Kindle here because I want to read a couple of the highlights. Again, as you guys know, um, I love print books, and I also love Kindle books because I can highlight. Um, all right, before I do that, and before I forget, because I will forget, Chaz, you mentioned John Connolly. You should pick this up. Horror Express, John Connolly. This is about the movie. Um, Horror Express, a British producer, a Spanish director, a star in Mourning, another in Debt, a script written around leftover sets from a previous film. It could have been forgettable trash, but it wasn't. And during a late night screening on Irish television, it would make an indelible impression on the young boy who would grow up to become best-selling crime author, John Connolly. 30 plus years after that viewing, he decided to take another look and figure out why. And it is good. Um, Pete Relic told me about this book. And on the back it says, remember watching horror movies late at night, alone, in secret, when you were just a child? The special thrill of forbidden fruit, the delightful dread that this one might cause nightmares. Is there one film that stands out for you? One film in particular that defines that experience? For author John Connolly, it's Horror Express. But why? Why this one? What was it about this slightly ramshackle British slash Spanish co-production that, despite obvious flaws, make it into such an effective, entertaining, and memorable horror movie? 30 years after that first viewing, John Connolly goes back to the source to find out why it stayed with him and if it still works. And little book here, hardcover, and yeah, pick it up, especially if you like Horror Express. As you know, Alan helps me curate the Cosmic Horror Movies list on the Lovecraft Easing website, and we have this on there. So um, there's definitely a cosmic horror element to it. 1972. So anyway, let me get back to old. I was talking about the novel Old Soul. Just a few chapters in, so I've got two highlights. Just disappeared on me. There we go. All right. So this is that mysterious woman slash creature or whatever talking to, it reads, it's a conversation between T and E. Well, pretty sure I know who T is, and E is probably this woman. This is really interesting, and I thought so poetic. T, what are you looking at? E, I'm waiting for Venus. T, O Venus, beauty of the skies, to whom 1,000 temples rise. I faltered, embarrassed. I couldn't remember the rest. E, the beauty is a mask. Venus was once like Earth, but now it's an inferno. Its oceans boiled away, and the continents are just black volcanic rock and rivers of lava. The atmosphere is crushing, vaporizing. Sulfuric acid and carbon dioxide. Can you imagine it? T. Not really. All that's very true, by the way. Not boring you guys, am I? E. This is true also. Venus spins backward, opposite to the spin of Earth or any other planet in the solar system, she means, our solar system. And it spins slowly at the pace of a walking man. A day on Venus is longer than a year there. Also true. I followed the end of her pointing finger, a tiny sphere of celestial light. I'm kind of lisping lately. It's weird. A tiny sphere of celestial light was appearing in the dip between two low summits. Eerie, haunted, pale. We watched silently for a while. E. I dream I'm there sometimes, walking toward the sunset at the speed that Venus slowly turns, so the sun never disappears. It just continues to set forever. I shivered, pulling the sheet tighter around me. T. Sounds lonely. Venus shone at the lower edge of the dusky, purple-streaked sky. E. No, it's not. Well, I thought that was beautiful. And then, so really, guys, pick this up. But the other one, when this is in Japan, when this woman and this man meet, not the woman, not either of the women that I was just quoting, but one of them says that is talking about her brother dying. And she says, 11 years ago, on the night he died, Hiroji called at 3 a.m., Mariko said. I didn't want to pick up, but then I said, but then I did, and he said he'd entered the mind of a higher dimensional God. And this took me by surprise because I didn't really peg it as this kind of book. Not that we don't all love those kinds of books, but it does seem like quite a literary mystery of sorts. A what? That's what he said. A higher dimensional God. He said he'd seen every moment of his life from conception to death. He'd seen us sharing our mother's womb as fetuses. I asked him if he was on drugs, and he started to weep. So, yes, very good book. And the other one is Dark Matter, which is set in 37, if memory serves. And it's about this guy who's basically on his last penny living in London. And he, excuse me, gets an offer to accompany a scientific group to the Arctic. And it's described as a ghost story. So I'm in the middle of that one too. John's read that one, and he said it was very good. So those are the two fiction books I'm really working on right now, aside from the Star Trek book when I'm in the mood for something a little bit lighter. So I'm moody, so I can never just read one book at once. I have to go back and forth. So I highly recommend you pick up Old Soul and Dark Matter. Now there's a couple of books called Dark Matter, and this is by Michelle Paver. P as in Paul, A, V as in Victor, E, R. Paver. And yes, I've started highlighting, but I won't bore you with those tonight. I'll bore you with those another time. One does, Kim. One needs options. And all that's in addition to speaking of my moods, in addition to the nonfiction. So that's what's going on with me on the book front. If you feel like it, type in the side chat, tell me what you're reading. Chaz did already, and I think someone else did. Not sure. Hey, Dave, good to see you. If you're not watching live, if you're watching this later, please comment below. That commenting below, by the way, helps the algorithm. Um, helps more people discover the podcast if you do that. So there's that. Tough day today, but it's getting better. I want to read you something a quote I came across again recently, and this time I made a note to myself to read it for you guys. It helped me, and I know that there's people even watching live right now who this will hopefully help as well. Um, this is by a novelist by the name of Louis Erdrich, Erdrich. She's a Native American writer. Life will break you. Nobody can protect you from that. And being alone won't either. For solitude will also break you with its yearning. You have to love. You have to feel. It is the reason you are here on earth. You have to risk your heart. You are here to be swallowed up. And when it happens that you are broken, or betrayed, or left, or hurt, or death brushes too near, let yourself sit by an apple tree and listen to the apples falling all around you in heaps, wasting their sweetness. Tell yourself that you tasted as many as you could. I just think that's beautiful. And certainly she had her share of that. I believe she's still alive. Um, if you look her up on Wikipedia, you'll see what I mean. Um, and life will break you. The key is one of the keys. Keep going. Cody. Oh, good. You've read Erdich. Yeah, that's a wonderful quote. Good to see you, Cody, so to speak. Cody is writing a post for the Lovecraft Easing blog on David Lynch. Now, you guys know that for those of you who are watching that are patrons, you know that I posted the Patreon podcast episode with that we that that Laird Barron, John Langan, and Stephen Mark Rainey and I recorded a couple of days ago, and I posted it today on David Lynch. I'm going to do another one. Um, and Nadia Bolkin's going to join me for that one. Um, Emma Gibbon, Jeff Thomas, and I haven't asked him yet, but hopefully Cody Lakin will say yes. And if so, we'll put everybody's schedule together and do another episode on David Lynch. So, you're writing poetry, Cody? That's great. Spanish free verse. All right. Oh. I picked this up in the little picturesque town that Danielle and I were in, a little cute little bookstore. Uh, American Scary, A History of Horror, from Salem to Stephen King and beyond. It is very interesting. Paul's read it. He's got a blurb on the back of this, and one blurb among many. So check that out too, guys. And let's see here. No, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, you guys want to see an impression of a person with fibrofog? Because you're already watching it in person. You're watching that impression every time you see me. It can be frustrating. Oh, I recently posted up here where you guys can't see it, but I can see it all the time. Uh, Thank you, Jess. A quote that I've always liked, but these kinds of things you really need to keep in front of you so that it's, for lack of a better phrase, in your face all the time. Um, so you can't avoid it because if you want to stay on track, you shouldn't avoid it. And here's the quote by Bruce Lee: "The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus." And I have believed that, and that has been effective for me for such a long time that you can't be everything, you can't do everything, but you have to pick out those things that are the most important to you and focus on those every day. And it doesn't mean that you don't ever do anything else. It doesn't mean that if you play the guitar, you never sit down and, I don't know, draw a picture or something. But my point is the things that are most important. Laser-like focus is a very apt analogy because it cuts away everything that's not important. Here, I'll give you an example. You should be writing. That's good. David Tennant. Um, okay, for me, it's reading, really important to me, not only for pleasure, but also for the easing, for the podcast, and for promoting those books that I like and the authors that I like Cody Lakin. Um, so that's one. Writing is another one. I know you guys have not seen an example of my writing as of yet, or at least not my fiction writing as of yet. Although technically that's not true. I think I've got a story. I got one story on the Lovecraft Easing magazine, which is on the Lovecraft Easing website from years ago. I don't know, like 12 years ago. And I sent it blind to another editor and said it was from someone else that had submitted something to me. And what did he think of it? And without knowing it was mine, he took it because uh, I didn't want to publish it just because I wrote it, so to speak. Anyway, well, there's not much of it out there, Cody. Oh, I also wrote one that's not on the website. I was asked to write a short story several years ago for Necronomicon's booklet, and I did. It's called The Red Brick Building, and that has a very small circulation, as you might imagine, and odds are you can't get a copy of that. But it was reprinted in, if I remember this title correctly, an anthology called Cthulhu Lies Dreaming. And Matt, who is never afraid to say when he doesn't like anything, said that he loved it and read it twice. So there you go. Anyway, I was talking about focus. So writing is a focus. I've made the pledge to myself to get my novella published this year. So you'll see that. So, but anyway, reading, writing, piano, and guess what the fourth one is? The easing, and all its associated projects. I do have other interests. Astronomy is um, one example, but I'm always careful to, you know, listening to old time radio. That's another. But I'm always careful to differentiate between those things and the things that I'm truly got an intense focus on. So um, there you go. It's in a book called Cthulhu Lies Dreaming. Let me make sure I'm telling you the right. Yeah, Cthulhu Lies Dreaming. 23 Tales of the Weird and Cosmic with and it's edited by Salome Jones with a foreword by Kenneth Haidt. So you can get that. Oh, looks like it's only $4.99 on Kindle, and it's $15.99 on paperback. So, and it's called The Red Brick Building. If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, pretend you like it and let me know. No, I'm kidding. Oh, thank you, Chaz. Appreciate it. You don't have to get it just because I have a story in there. But that's a really she's a really great editor and writer. Salome is, and you definitely be helping them out. Um, oh, here's some news for you, which you probably heard already. But there's going to be a Buffy the Vampire, not a reboot, but sort of a sequel of sorts, which I think is the exact right way to do it. And it will. Sarah Michelle Gellar is going to be in it. She's one of the executive producers. And I saw she posted this and said something to the effect of she's been asked about this on and off for years and has always said no because if she does ever did something like that, she'd really want to do it right. And she feels like that they've got an idea that will do that right. And she seems very sincere. I don't think she's hurting for money. So I think she's very sincere about this, and I'm really looking forward to it. Kim, I agree. I would not want a reboot, um, personally. I don't want another Buffy the Vampire Slayer starring, you know, um, a 20-year-old that's, well, I can't talk tonight, but you get the idea. So I'm really happy about that, and I'll be interested to see who else comes back. If Sandra Harris is in it or Charisma Carpenter, probably not, since spoiler alert, she dies in Angel. Thanks, Whedon. Little character assassination going on there because Charisma Carpenter had the audacity to have a child without Joss Whedon's explicit approval, Mr. Feminist there. And so he paid her for that. Anyway, I'm very excited about the Buffy sequel. Very excited. Be great if Angel was in it too, but I have the feeling that David Boreanaz is way too busy for that. Maybe he'll show up briefly. All right, let's see here. Fred, yes, yeah. Oh man, Fred. At least what happened to her was a lot better. Served the story. Um, yeah, I didn't care for the Christopher Golden audiobook. It's an audio drama actually, which you guys know I love, and I like Buffy the Vampire Slayer a lot. So I was excited. Even though Buffy wasn't going to be in it, um, they did a multiverse thing. Charisma Carpenter, Cordelia is a Slayer from another dimension. Right, and that's great. Sounds good. But the story just wasn't there. I tried it several times to get into it, but I just couldn't. So, so yeah, it's too bad too. I mean, a bunch of audio dramas set in that universe would be wonderful, but it is not to be. I'm going to recommend a short story for you guys too. Maybe you've already read it, but it's called The Quiet Boy, and it is free to read online, and it is in Chaz. I'm going to butcher this name here, but Guernica, Guernica. It's on their website, and it's by a writer by the name of Nick Antosca. Yep, exactly. Nick Antosca. If you Google The Quiet Boy, it should take you right to it. And actually, I'll put the link in the side chat. Give me a second here. There you go. They made a movie out of it, which was no good. I can't even remember the name of the movie right now. But the story is really good. And there's also a free audio reading online too. So um, check that out. That's definitely worth your time, and it's not going to cost you a penny. Okay. So I received a YouTube comment. How's everybody doing tonight? I don't want this just to be about me. Jeez. Um, how's everybody doing? Hope you guys are doing okay. Hope you're having a good week. Um, yeah, let me know. So I posted about tonight, of course, in several places, like I always do. And one of those places was, of course, the YouTube channel. And I got a really nice reply. And I don't know who this is, but she said, Mike, your podcast means a lot to me. I listen to it when I have stacks of baby bottles to wash at the end of a long day. It's so much more than a horror podcast. Please keep doing what you're doing. And I replied and said, thank you. Um, feedback like that really keeps me going. And I'm not fishing for compliments, but anyone listening, does, if this podcast helps you, if the Lovecraft Easing community helps you, shoot me an email, lovecrafteasing@gmail.com. Two things in general, my friends, of course, but a couple of things that keep me going on this project for the last 14 years is the first thing is it are comments like this, feedback like this, to know that I am making a difference. I and the panelists are making a difference. That's really important. And the other thing is the Patreons. Uh, it just having to have money is just a fact of life. Um, Wish it wasn't that way, but it is. And the fact is, I could not keep doing this without the Patreons. So thank you to all of you who are one. If you're not one, I hope you consider it. I'm not going to turn this into a commercial, but um, think about it because um, you get a lot of bang for your buck. You get a lot. So I heard that there's going to be a sequel to It Follows. What do you guys think about that? Count says I'm doing well today, but I'd do better if I was recommended a good site slash old time radio show to listen to. Well, this is not old time radio, but first of all, you could listen to The Quiet Boy. It's I forget who read it, but she's a very good narrator. And Listen in the dark. Tales told in the dark. Hello. We were just talking about things like you, audio dramas and audiobooks. Thank you, Darren. Yeah, Alan, it's called They Follow, and I hope it lives up to the first one. I mean, it happens. Alien, Aliens, Terminator, Terminator 2, and there are a lot of examples. Of course, there are a lot of examples that of movie sequels that don't work too. But it's such an interesting and creepy premise, isn't it? Just in general, it, the monster or whatever it is, and it follows. And there are a couple of there are well more than a couple, but here are a couple. Just going on memory now. I didn't even know I was going to talk about this, but one, you wanted an old time radio recommendation count. Here you go. This is from the Hall of Fantasy old time radio show, early 50s. And the name of the episode is He Who Follows Me. And I really like it's very atmospheric. I really love the way it starts. The way it starts is a guy is sitting in his friend's house late at night, and his friend and his wife are deceased, recently deceased, and there's a storm outside, and he's reading his friend's journal, and he says, "There's something in the house. I feel like something is watching me." Which, of course, begs the question, why don't you go out to a Starbucks and read it there? But it's a better story this way. So that's it. That's a really good one, Count. So the Hall of Fantasy, and the episode is He Who Follows Me. So check that out, Count. The other one in that theme is wow, it's on Pseudopod, and it's by the same writer who wrote the Three Investigators series back in the 60s, which I loved as a kid. And it's by a fellow by the name of Robert Arthur. And he wrote a story. Hang on a second. Like I said, I didn't know I was going to talk about this. All right. Yes, here it is. He wrote a story that I think all of you would really like. And you can listen to it on Pseudopod. Pseudopod episode 363, and it's called Footsteps Invisible. I'm going to put it in the side chat right now, so there you go. And Alan is very right about the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society. They're out of reach, but I've got both sets over there, and they're great. It was really kind of those guys to give them to me. Um, Footsteps Invisible by Robert Arthur. And it's set in the 40s, it was written in the 40s, set in the 40s. And it's about this guy who runs a newsstand in Times Square, okay? And it's late at night, and there are not many people around. Things are winding down, and it sounds like a very cozy little um, newsstand. He's inside. He's got his feet up, waiting for customers. He's got his little dog with him, and he's got the heat going in there. And I shouldn't say any more because I'll spoil it, but it's that same theme. Somebody he finds out about somebody who's being followed by a creature, and it's just a very interesting story. And again, this is another um, free listen if you're interested. Really, you should listen to it. It's really good. I first read it as a kid, and as a kid, it really blew me away. So, am I a James Herbert fan? I've never really gotten into him. Maybe I should try again, Darren. So, I'll try again. Yeah, there were some Twilight Zone audio dramas done. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, something like that. And they're pretty good. And you can, I think, find them free online, but I haven't looked for a long time. Um, but yeah, there you go, Count. Lots of recommendations. Anyway, if you don't want to spend any money or can't right now, then do check out The Quiet Boy and do check out Footsteps Invisible on Pseudopod. You can either read The Quiet Boy online or you can listen to the narration. So there you have it. What time is it? I know you guys got to get to bed soon, so I'll wrap up shortly. I want to say something. Really appreciate you guys, as I've said many times, and I really appreciate my fellow panelists. Um, they've been around with me, most of them, for a very long time, and they're the backbone with me of this whole thing, and I sure appreciate them. Matthew Carpenter, when I first started doing this, it was with Pete and Joe, and Matt found out about it, and he was like, I want to be a part of this." And I was like, "Sure." That was before I even knew I was creating a podcast, right? We just got together and talked and broadcast it live for, fans and followers, and that's how the whole thing started. And he's been there for me through the years, and he's a really good guy, and he runs the Lovecraft Easy movie night on Saturday nights, by the way. Begins at 9:30 Eastern every Saturday. Just go to the Lovecraft Easy Facebook group on Facebook, obviously, and you'll see his announcement for that. If you're not on Facebook, email me and I'll put you in touch. Lovecrafteasy at gmail.com. I know that's a lot of fun for everybody. I think Alan's usually there, right? And Kim, you're usually there. Um, so Pete Rollick is another one. Pete is such a kind person and a very generous person. I've got a copy of Nocturnes here, signed by John Connolly. Eat your heart out, Chaz, since you're reading John Connolly right now. That's that's courtesy of Pete Rollick. I've got a couple of books from the Charlie Parker series, courtesy of Pete. Signed books, I mean, signed hardcovers. And by the way, I think those are that series. All of the books are $1.99 on Kindle right now. Let me make sure they are still. Yes. Looks like all of them are still $1.99 on Kindle if you're a Kindle reader. So you can get this whole series really cheaply. And they're all on Audible too if you've got an Audible membership. So um, anyway, of course, gone but not forgotten, Rick Lay and um, Joe Pulver. I really miss those guys. Am I thinking of having a co-host for Thursday? Actually, yes. Not usually. Usually it's just going to be me. But every once in a while, I'm not sure how often. Maybe it's going to be every great once in a while, or maybe it'll be once a month. Kelly Young's going to join me. So that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, I had a lot of people who would stop in, um, and I miss Willem also, but just, I'm focusing on the regulars, but you're right. Um, Joe and Rick, um, there were four of us that started this. Um, five of us, four not including me, five of us. Me, Pete, Matt, Joe, and we weren't doing it very long at all before Rick. He, someone suggested to him to be on the show and talk about, hell, I can't remember the phrase right now. Um, and he did. He was a guest on the show, and I invited him to come on indefinitely and be a panelist, and he loved it. He loved talking about all this stuff. He was a geek, a nerd, just like the rest of us, and so knowledgeable. When he died, the world, he honestly one of the best men I've ever known in my entire life. And but someone said when he died that a library burned that day. And that's true because he had so much in his head, which you guys who watch the podcast, you know that. Anyway, John Langen's been a panelist for a couple of years now, on and off, and I tease John a lot, but he's a very talented writer. He's a good man, and I'm happy to know him. I'm privileged to be friends with him. Um, yeah, Dave, you're right about the Rick's books. Bridget Brenmark, of course, who I got to know several years ago and invited her on, and she adds so much to the show, and she's been had some. She posted about this on Facebook. Otherwise, I wouldn't say anything. But she and her husband have been dealing with a leaky roof and a couple of other life fit things like that. So she hasn't been on for a few weeks, but she'll be back. And very talented, very good person. I call her little sister. Ben Handelman, one of those guys who also is very knowledgeable, very smart kid. Well, kid, he's like 40 or something, but um, and he's a huge supporter on Patreon, and he has been for a very long time. So I don't know if these guys are ever going to watch any of this, but if you do, I appreciate you guys. Mike DeBronzo, who, yeah, Raven was on a few times. Good guy. Um, Mike DeBronzo is very good at finding really bad movies for Pete to watch for our amusement, and also a very good friend. Stephen Mark Rainey is a recent addition, like a year ago, something like that. But I've known him for almost since the beginning, and really kind person. I used to be a manager at a bagel place. I mean, when I was really young, like 22. And my boss, the general manager of the stores, excuse me, the area manager, said to me one time, he said, "Mike, be careful who you hire." I was like, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "No, be careful who you hire." And I was like, "Okay, what do you mean?" And he said, "The kind of people that you hire are the kind of people that you're going to attract." In other words, he said, like attracts like. And if you've got good people with good customer service skills, you're going to attract that in other workers. And the same is true for just about anything in life, for this community as well. Um, I try to be a kind person, and I know that everyone else on this podcast is too, because like attracts like. And the ones who aren't that way, not just panelists, but viewers and so forth, they go away after just a short period of time. And last but not least, he gets to hear this live, unless he's already gone to bed. Alan, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and so helpful to me. I really appreciate it in a lot of different ways. He helps with curating the movie list. Does the work of putting those movies up. Added a lot to that list that I wouldn't have thought to add. Not just movies, but you know, uh, I guess there's a website, Alan, called justwatch.com, and it tells you where you can stream things. I mean, what a good idea. So, really appreciate you, Alan. I I don't know if you know this, probably do, but I sent a Facebook message to your wife like 2 months ago, and I said, "You're married to a really nice." I don't remember what I said. Something like, "You're married to a really nice guy, and he gives me so much help, and I really appreciate him. So thanks for lending him out." And she liked that. She replied and said that you're a really nice guy too, Alan. So something to that effect. Not to your wife, just to Alan's wife. So she agreed with me that her husband is a very nice guy. So anyway, I'm privileged to work with all these people and have them in the community. So thank you guys. Alan, you may be the only one who ever sees this, but what else? I think that's it for tonight. We've got a guest on Sunday, and it's Jennifer. I gotta ask her how to pronounce her last name again. Uh, Bruckler, and we're gonna be talking about this novella, Remedy, and it's a good book. Nat Jacobs finds herself alone and far from home in a mirror world where she is herself and not. She can remember being nightmarishly wrenched away from her child, unbearable pain, and then nothing. Traumatized and visibly scarred, dismissed as hysterical, irrational even, she finds others like her in a support group, all living lives of those wounded in terrible accidents that they can't remember, taken from those they love with no explanation and no hope of return. Or is there? When an apparent savior appears, claiming to have a remedy, some jump at the chance. But what if the cure is worse than the disease? That is the title of the book, by the way, Remedy, if you can't see it. And there's Jennifer. Her pen name is actually J.S. Brooklar. Nice blurb from Angela Slatter. And she lives in the future. because she lives in Australia. So, what time is it for her now? Probably afternoon on Friday. So, she's an American Australian author living in Sydney. Her previous award winning novels include The Bridge, Alethea, and American Monster. Her collection of fiction, short fiction, Collision was a Shirley Jackson Award finalist and winner of both the Australian Aurelius and Ditmar Awards. So, yes, yes, it's summertime also. It's not winter. I got an email from somebody once, uh, a viewer. Hopefully, they're still a viewer. Can't remember their name right now because it's been like 5 years. I'm always going on about how much I love Halloween and autumn and everything. And he's like, it's hard to celebrate Halloween in Australia because it's it's summer, it's hot out, and I was like, yeah, I get it. I live in Texas now, but I'm from Iowa. Not quite the same, but close. I mean, geez, it was 80 degrees today, and it's February. So I said, you know what you could do? You could have a reverse Halloween. Like do it 6 months later. So it'd be October, November, December, January, February, March, April. You could do it at the end of April. April the 31st. That would work, right? We'll go for April 30th. Um, and you could have your Halloween every year then. So, cool idea. Yes, exactly, Kim. Well, I hope you guys will join me on Sunday. Thank you for spending part of your Thursday night with me. I really do appreciate it. Hope you guys had a good time. And yeah, count. They do. They do. And we will see you on Sunday. We'll be talking to Jennifer the first hour, and the second hour, who knows? So see you then. Everybody have a good night.